worthiness.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a word that we all want to feel of worth and of value. And I think a lot of times we believe as human resources colleagues. I think we believe as we are navigating into more specialized areas of diversity, inclusion, and belonging. I think we believe we're trying our best to do that. What are some things, what are some practices that you can suggest to kind of help in that area?
To help people feel worthy.
Yeah, like because it's just it's so like because I think they think well if we set up the program or if we do this that
Yeah.
engagement, they're going to feel worthy and of value.
Yeah.
But what we fail to realize is we know, and I think it's hard for HR and diversity and inclusion and those individuals who are the people leaders in an organization. I think it's hard for them to go to leadership and say, hey, this is what we're dealing with, all these traumas. How do you explain that Betty Sue, single mom, is bringing her trauma into work because she's got, an abusive husband at home?
Yeah.
And it's not Betty Sue's fault, but it's a
Right.
trauma that's now brought in. Now you're navigating that conversation. That's one of many stories. So how do we not by a program, but make someone in that moment feel of value and of worth and know that leadership is on that person's side and knowing leadership has HR's back to navigate that in the right way. That's a huge
Yeah.
issue, but it's so often. It's every day I get an email about it.
Yeah. I think the single most important thing any of us can ever do for any other human is to work to understand their experience
Mm-hmm.
and validate their truth of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to sort of qualify that by saying I can appreciate how. So basically, I'm saying, well, one really practical and helpful thing to do is to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes when we hear that, it doesn't feel like we're doing anything when we're just listening,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what we know from mountains of psychological research is that particularly in those moments when you have an employee who comes into your office and maybe they're really disrupted and their affect is really high, they only want one thing. They actually don't want you or need you to really fix anything.
Mm-hmm.
The very first and most important thing they want is to be seen, to be understood, to be validated, that they get to have this experience, right? Because so often when we're having those big disruptive moments, the first thing that we do as humans unconsciously, right? So we're usually not aware of it, is we start to go, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I need to run over here and I'm actually not consciously or I'm not unconsciously looking for a solution. I'm unconsciously looking for you to help me know that I'm okay, that there's nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is truly providing a sense of belonging, right? Because we're not we're not saying no, you don't get to have this emotional
Mm-hmm.
moment, right? That's really not helpful. That's not safe. And in fact, depending upon how it's communicated, it could be emotionally violent, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But rather to say, yeah, I get this.
In my mind, what you just did, or what that work that you're doing does, it alleviates so much guilt from the HR
Yes,
employee relations manager because we are expected to fix it.
right.
Fix it, get them back into their cubicle, get them back to the assembly line, get them back to the patient, get them back to work.
Yep.
So we have to fix it. So it's that issue comes, they're in our office going through this. We send the email or push the employee assistance business card, call that number, you get 6 free visits. I fixed it. But did you listen to me?